Sick of the Xbox Live Arcade games? Make your own then. All this and more on Friendly Fire on GameSHOUT Radio.
GameSHOUT Radio is property of GameSHOUT, a company of Red Planet LLC. All rights reserved. Executive producer, Andy Hodges. For live broadcast booking information, syndication, or advertising, email info@GameSHOUT.com. All comments expressed on the show are not necessarily those of GameSHOUT, Red Planet LLC, its advertisers, guests, or syndication affiliates. All music is licensed by ASCAP and BMI. Recordings of this broadcast prohibited without prior written consent.
And welcome back to GameSHOUT Radio. I'm your host, SexyJosh, for Friendly Fire, along with Captain Maverick, Egoraptor, Andy Hodges, and Soulrift, all hanging out today on the friendliest of fires. How you guys doing?
You just sound so mellow today, you know?
I'm hanging out, you know? I am. Whoa! I'm kind of just hanging, chilling out, because we got some great stuff going on, especially if you're a Game Pass member. We got tons of stuff going on for our Game Pass members. Oh yeah. So, but you know what? I don't want to, like leave some of these people out in the cold. You guys, you want to become a Game Pass member? Go on over to GameSHOUT.com, click the Game Pass button, and join up today. By joining up, you get exclusive interviews with all the developers of the video games that we talk about. You get exclusive contests that just about everybody wins. We've been announcing them all over the place lately. You also get extended podcasts, exclusive deals, exclusive content, tons of stuff over there. So go on over to GameSHOUT.com, click the Game Pass button, and sign up today. Trust me, guys, it's worth it. And again, this is Friendly Fire, and we have some interesting news stories to talk about today. One of the more interesting would have to be on the Halo movie director announcement, but I mean, yeah, this has been something that's been in the works for about a year now, probably even longer than that. And video game films are nothing new to the industry, but they haven't really gotten the most, love that they deserve. I mean, granted, they haven't been the best. I mean, I don't know. Can you guys think of a good video game to film adaptation ever?
Personally,
no.
Personally, I thought the Resident Evil movie was okay.
I'd have to agree with that. The Resident Evil film was good. I also have to agree with Doom. Regardless of what a lot of the naysayers had said, I rather enjoyed Doom. It wasn't a horrible film. I disagreed with some of the story arc and storyline and aspects to it, but I gotta say it wasn't too bad of a film. I kind of enjoyed the original Lara Croft.
That's only because she's hot.
I liked Blood Rain because it came with a free copy of Blood Rain 2. Because, a $20 movie comes with a free, $40 game.
Yeah, I don't quite understand it either, but that's sad that as far as Uwe Boll goes, it's sad that they need to have a game just to sell his movie. Who is one of the biggest offenders of video game film adaptations with let's see here, House of the Dead, Alone in the Dark, Blood Rain, the upcoming Dungeon Siege. Oh Lord, this man is ruining film adaptations left and right. But anyways, I mean, this all might just be turned around here with the Halo film, and maybe I have my my little hype meter up a little bit too high here, but I think there's enough to go on here to say that it's going to be good. I mean, we have Peter Jackson as the producer of the film. I mean, you have the Halo franchise and series with such a deep and expanding universe in which to draw from for the story. And now we have the director who's been finally announced as Neil Blomkamp. You ever hear of him? Doubt it, because this is his first feature film. Call me crazy, but it's his very first feature film. I've seen some of his short films that he's done in the past, and I have to admit that I'm very impressed by his work thus far. He's a very unique individual to take. He does kind of a documentary style look and feel to his short films, and adds in some amazing special effects. But call me crazy, I really think that the Halo film, I mean, with him on board along with Peter Jackson and all of Peter Jackson's assets at Weta and in New Zealand, I really think this is going to be a good movie. I don't know what you guys think, and I'm going out on a limb and saying, yeah, this film's going to rock.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do, because some of this short stuff is pretty good, but a full-length feature? Do you really think that a new boy off the block is going to be able to pull off something as big as Halo? This is huge. This is humongous. What are they giving this to an unknown for? I mean, that sounds like nuts to me.
Well, hey, some of the biggest films were started off by unknowns. I mean, Steven Spielberg had to start somewhere. James Cameron had to start somewhere.
George Lucas is Star Wars.
Exactly. Right then and there. You've nailed it right on the head. George Lucas, came out of nowhere and wowed us with Star Wars.
Well, that's true. But is this guy George Lucas?
The thing is that when George Lucas was making Star Wars, it wasn't like the entire world knew about the Star Wars franchise waiting for some unknown guy to make a movie out of it. And this is a case where the whole world knows about the Halo franchise waiting for someone to make a movie out of it. There's a lot more burden to produce something and much higher expectations. Like when people went to see Star Wars, they didn't know what to expect, and it kind of grew from there. So it's a much harder thing to do to make an adaptation because people have such high expectations than when you're just going to make something creative all on your own.
This is true. I mean, that's one of the problems with the industry is that we all have really high expectations. Things can get blown out of proportion long before the actual game. I mean, Halo 2, for instance, was marketed a little bad because they were marketing it as like this gigantic, you're fighting on Earth and fighting back the Covenant. You spent 2 levels on Earth and you're back off in space. Not the best aspect to come from here. But you're right. There's a lot of expectation behind this film. There's actually even an interview with Neil over at ain'titcool.com. And I got to say, from his responses, he seems like a really smart guy. He doesn't, he's not bat crap crazy like UA Bowl. There's obviously going to be changes to the overall look. In the film, even Blomkamp says, Master Chief is certainly something that I do not want to change too much at all. There are certain things inside the Halo universe that are sacred, and he's the main one. Having said that, there's a need to revise certain parts of him, just from a purely technical standpoint. He has to actually be able to move like a human, and the game design right now does not allow for full motion freedom, which we will have to achieve.
So, I have a question. Are they actually going to show his face?
They haven't said anything about that yet. There's a few things they're kind of keeping in wraps at this point in time. For instance, are we going to see his face? He said that we haven't really decided or come to a decision on that yet. Also concerning if the Marty O'Donnell, the composer for the games, who I believe also has film composing experience, is going to be composing the score for this film. There's also no decision on that either. When referencing whether or not there's going to be mostly green screen work, he said there's going to be, they're going through all that now, but he wants to make as much of this as real as possible. So I think we can, just listening to, just reading what this guy has said, and I really want to get him, get an interview with him. But I think we're in good hands so far. I can't say that there's been any warning signs thrown up aside from the fact that it just the track records of video games to film adaptations.
Yeah, and I'm going to be the skeptic. I'm going to be sitting back here going, okay, well, if this guy can turn into a real, George Lucas, then all right, I'll go ahead and give him a chance. He does do some pretty decent short works, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what he comes out with for Halo, because being such a popular, well-known franchise, there's no way he's going to be able to, alter the story too much, to fit the artistic need.
Keeping it in the land of Microsoft. Another little interesting tidbit of information has been released recently. This I think I rather like this. Anybody remember a while back Microsoft announcing XNA software?
Yeah, yep. I remember it, and I was going, "Ooh, this would be cool."
Well, basically, for those who don't remember what XNA is or don't know what XNA is, I'm sure Soulrift will probably be more concise and probably defining this than I will be. But as far as I remember and understand, it was going to be a programming language that was going to give developers the ability to, as long as everybody adopted it, was going to give people the ability to spend less time on the technical side of things and more time on the art design and the actual gameplay. It was also going to be able to allow people to develop for more than one console and not have to worry about the technical limitations of those consoles as much. Going from PC to Xbox to PS3. I think that's one of the main focuses that Microsoft wanted, just make it easier for game developers to develop and not have to worry about programming and all that kind of crap. Well, that was a while back, and I don't remember if this actually been pushed forward or not. I know it's more than likely being used on the 360 and PC, the Games for Windows movement that's going on right now. But Microsoft actually at their Games Press conference just this week has announced that there's a free version of the XNA software being released for personal game development. This will allow players or programmers and small teams to work on a game for the PC or for a fee, the Xbox 360.
Yep, it's called the XNA Game Studio Express. In fact, they say it's going to be available online to XP users for the beta download, and where does that say? August 30th, a free beta download.
Now, I think it's always cool to add tools, especially for making stuff for a console. I know a lot of the PC enthusiasts have trouble adopting consoles because they can never do anything with it. They can never mod their system. They can never make their own games or maps. I mean, except for a few very limited games where the games themselves had development support. Like, I think, what was it, Pariah, that allowed you to make your own multiplayer maps on the Xbox original. But for the most part...
Far Cry, I'm sorry.
Far Cry had that as well?
Oh yeah, you were able to make your own maps in multiplayer.
Yeah. Well, for the most part, though, once you get the console, you can only consume stuff. It's like, it's like getting a VHS player, and now they're giving you the camcorder, so you can make your own movies as well as rent and watch someone else's movies, and that's a pretty cool thing. And I'm just wondering if they're responding slightly to the pressure by Sony, because Sony was stating that they were going to include the Linux operating system and development platform for the PlayStation 3. So that out of the box, anyone can make anything if they can program on the PlayStation 3.
I think that is going to be part of it, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is something that Microsoft's been thinking of doing for a while, mainly because this comes back to the microtransaction economy that they were working on when they originally announced the new Xbox Live. They were stating that not just Microsoft, but players and people were going to be able to put things for sale up on the Xbox Live Marketplace and allow for a micromanagement, economy to go back and forth between players and other players, like a peer-to-peer economy. I can see this being a part of that because now we're having players being able to develop their own games and release them on the Xbox Live Arcade platform. I mean, that's gonna that's like instead of Microsoft having to go out and say, hey, create this game for this and we'll sell it on Xbox Live. Now people are submitting it to Microsoft and saying, hey, can you put this online so I can get a percentage and you get a percentage and we all win in the end. Microsoft is winning in two ways. They're making money and they're getting more content for their Xbox Live Marketplace.
Well, here's also one additional little point, is that there are 10 prestigious universities that are now adding the game design for the Xbox 360 to their curriculum in this fall, including the XNA Game Studio Express software. So this is going to be a real benefit. We're going to see I think some really interesting new things come out of the minds of these young people in the colleges.
I think you're right, and I think it's amazing. I mean, just recently there was I remember reading about this. There was a competition where several teams from different universities and colleges were given a task to create, program, and develop a cell phone game and have it done and ready to showcase in 24 hours. So these small teams had to work for a 24-hour time span and create these little cell phone games. And then the best game would win. They'd get like $1,000 for each person. Their game would get picked up by a publisher and put on a cell phone network. That kind of is coming back to this. It's like some of the best games are not just being developed by the big name people, but they're also being developed by can be developed by the people who nobody has ever heard of, or just have an idea. There's lots of ideas out there. Just they don't have a technical way to go about getting that idea created. And I think this is going to definitely open up the floodgates to a lot of content, good or bad. It's going to be a lot of content available for the Xbox Live platform, which is kind of ironic because Scott Henson, director of the game development group at Microsoft, the way he describes this, he says, in the future we don't have a specific time frame, but we envision investing in the infrastructure to create a friction-free distribution environment very similar to what you see with YouTube. So, I mean, basically what they're trying to come up here is with a Microsoft Xbox Live marketplace similar to that of like YouTube, where people can share and release games to each other, possibly even for a price.
That is very, very cool. I think it's a great idea, and it brings a lot of young, fresh thinking into it that I think the industry will benefit greatly from.
Well, here's another thing. I know as far as game development, I've got some groups of friends, and they're all programmers, and I have to say, every few months, they get together and they say, oh, we're going to make a real simple game using, we're going to program it, and I don't know how many times that they've sat there and discussed a game idea and then started programming it, realized it actually takes a lot of work to program a piece of software, and then gave up on it. And I'm just wondering if there's a lot of hype over this whole XNA thing, and then everyone's going to download it like, oh cool, I'm going to make a game, and then realize that they have to learn how to program, and they're like, oh well, this is actually hard work. I don't want to spend more than a few hours on this, and then walk away from the project.
I mean, that's gonna be the culling effect. That's gonna get the crap ideas out. I mean, people might have good ideas, but it's gonna take the real perseverant people that are gonna sit there and actually develop the game. But I mean, as far as I know, isn't XNA supposed to like take and alleviate the pain of all that? I mean, a lot of the programming, not all of it.
Well, I mean, it can only do so much. I mean, if you look at Microsoft's Visual Basic, that takes a lot of the pain out of programming Windows applications, because you can drag and drop and have default functions for all the Windows interface items, so you can make very simple, Windows interface and then add your code to it, and you can make fairly complex programs, database access programs that you can build records and do multiple, tri-linked searches and other things like that fairly easily. But as far as making games, I don't know if you've ever tried making a game, but 99% of the work on games these days is the artwork. A lot of times, you can come up with a great idea for a game, but you can't display that game or create an interface for the game or make it fun to play because you don't have the art skills to populate the world.
Yeah, people need to come. I mean, modding teams have been coming together and creating mods for years. I think that, this is just the next step, where teams are not going to have to rely on another company's game to create their game. They're going to be able to create from the ground up their own IP in the form of a small, kind of arcade game, or any kind of, whatever they want to do with it. I don't know how powerful the free XNA tools are going to be, if it's going to be able to go past the 2D kind of puzzle game, or if we're going to see like the ability to make 3D games, first-person shooters, or something on the lines of Marble Ultra. We'll see what happens here. I think it's going to open the doors to a lot of new innovations, and it's going to definitely be interesting to see this YouTube-esque community-driven arcade on the Xbox Live marketplace. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I guess this, there's not much more to say other than, let's do it. I mean, August 30th cannot get
it's
here
about
quicker,
time.
I want to see these games.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think one of the driving points behind it is not just because it's going to be able to, anybody, a lot of people can make games for the PC. I think the driving point is going to be they're going to be able to make games for the Xbox 360, for a console, for a home mainstream entertainment system.
That hasn't been
one of the biggest driving points.
Yeah. It hasn't been done in 30 years of video game industry. That has not been done before. Where your common everyday guy can go in and actually start working as a hobby on a video game for the Xbox 360. That he doesn't have to spend a fortune on the tools to develop it. It's $99 a year for a subscription fee. Duh, that's nothing. It's a no-brainer. Jump in, have a good time.
Well, it's $99 for a package of games, pre-made games that people can, just to get people, or sample games to get people started. They're apparently saying.
Yeah, and I thought there was a subscription fee on that.
I haven't seen a subscription fee as far as the final version.
Here, let me show you.
For the Xbox 360 functionality,
that's right.
will be the $99
for the Xbox 360. Right. Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
And there's also going to be a more professional for smaller developing companies. There's going to be a more professional XNA that's going to be a little cheaper, or not a little cheaper, it's going to be about $1,000, a little under $1,000. It's going to be like, a lot more streamlined and a lot cheaper than existing development kits that are on the market today. So, kudos to Microsoft.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant, and I couldn't suggest it more for everybody else who may be listening. Sony, Nintendo, don't you think it's time we bring more public into this game developing world and take the ideas of us gamers to consideration? Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. I've got to say one thing on that point, and that is.
Of course you do.
No, I've got to say something about that. One of the big issues with console games is a level of quality. For example, when you look at the PC development platform, there's no standardized testing. There's no one company that filters out the good games from the bad. There's no one that makes sure the games don't crash and prevent them from getting released. So on the PC, you can get any game. Anyone can make a game for the PC. Anyone can then publish and distribute that game. There's no quality control agent for the PC, and so a lot of PC games crash really badly, or have a lot of bugs, and they have to get patched and fixed. And the thing is that the consoles have a level of quality that the PC doesn't, because everything has to go through the company that makes the console games. Like Sony has to give the all clear before any game goes out on the PlayStation or PlayStation platforms, and that just means that there's like a lot less crashes, a lot fewer bugs, a much higher standard of quality. And the legal repercussions of that is that literally any game that comes out for the Sony systems is licensed by Sony for distribution on their systems. So it's not like the game company is actually directly selling you their game. The game company is selling it to Sony, which then licenses it to sell it to you for their system. There's a lot of legal issues as well as quality issues around making a lot of distribution of games. However, I think if Microsoft kind of keeps their XNA type games limited to like the Xbox arcade style environment, so that you have like this implied idea that they're smaller limited arcade games, and then keep the games on the store shelves, the very high quality games, then I think it's going to work out.
I think that's exactly what they're going to be doing, is keeping these games on the arcade level. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be a quality assurance committee installed into this arcade community-driven arcade game community, because you look at it, you don't want people posting racist games, sexist games, offensive games. I mean, there's still a pretty much quality standard that they have to commit to when trying to post on the Xbox Live Arcade. So I doubt we're going to see like the really craptastic games make it to the Xbox Live Arcade. I would hope that Microsoft would install some kind of quality assurance committee to filter through these games. Hey, I'll do it. But
yeah, we could do it easily. Yeah, we'll be happy.
I'd love to. But yeah, so no, I totally see your point. I think that's exactly how they're doing it. So I mean, we'll see more of this, come down the tubes in the next upcoming years here. I'm hoping this starts really kicking off in the next year or so, as it's being released at the end of this month. But moving on, playtime. What have you guys been playing, Mav?
Ooh, goody. You know what I've been playing. I've been playing a lot of City of Heroes and City of Villains, because we've got that shootout on the MMO show next week. That'll be a blast. But I've also been playing, of course, a lot of Guild Wars and Factions. I'm really getting into a lot of the MMOs. I mean, you guys have turned me on to something that... Well, my wife is not very happy with you. Thank you very much. But and Dark Age of Camelot. That's the other one I've been playing.
So, what do you play in Dark Age?
Well, in Dark Age, I'm working my Mystic to a Warlock, and I'm also going to create one that's a Spirit Walker. And playing in my mind just went blank.
Migraine server.
There we go. Midgard, yeah, and the iGrain server. That's right, Ingrain, whatever it is, Ingrain. And so you guys get a chance to play.
P-grains, and L-grain.
And then for heroes and villains, I've been playing on the Victory server. So you guys look up Captain Maverick, CAPT.Maverick, and come on, join me, have some fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Ego, what have you been up to?
Oh, geez, what have I been up to? Yesterday, my friends and I had a Dreamcast party, and we played some Choo Choo Rocket, we played some Project Justice, we played some Street Fighter, we played some King of Fighters. It was awesome.
Wow, that's Street Fighter, man.
I was just going to say, sounds like you guys were all going, whee!
Dreamcast was and still is my favorite system.
Cool.
It was a good system. Speaking of Street Fighter, I've been playing quite a bit of that ever since it came out on Xbox Live Arcade. Had some problems up to the 4th character, but I finally gotten past that, and I got all the way to I think like the 8th character in the arcade mode. But after beating Ken, I got to Ryu, and anybody who plays the game knows they're pretty much the same damn thing. And so again, I came up against this unstoppable wall of Hadouken, Hadouken. So it was like a machine gun. I mean, like the sound file wouldn't even stop playing of him saying Hadouken before he went off to the next one. So that was rather frustrating. I've been doing some nightly Unos, playing with one of our friends, Pat Evans, friends of the show, works for other websites. Kind of playing some Uno with other journalists.
Well, you guys using a camera so that you can play Uno naked?
Camera's not out, you dirty old man perv. Also, Dead Rising. Hardcore in the Dead Rising. Like, non-stop. It's been one of my addictions for the past few days here, so I gotta say that is... I can't say too much about it, but we're gonna go on. Let's Soulrift talk.
Oh man, I've been having a blast. MMOs, of course, are where it's at for me, and the two big MMOs, World of Warcraft, our guild finally beat Twin Emperors in AQ40. We finally beat the Twin Imps, and that was a big achievement for us because we're a smaller guild. We just got started, fairly young guild by World of Warcraft standards. We've only been around for a couple of months now, but we finally managed to beat the Twin Imps. And now we're going to be going back to Nexramus and trying to beat Anubercon and Instructor Resuvius there. And, of course, also EVE Online I've been having a lot of fun in. I just, it's an addictive game. It's, you start playing and it just sits there and it's like, what do you want to do today? You can do anything you want. It's like, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, see, that's my only problem with the game is where I'd be like, what do I want to do?
Yeah, and see, you got to figure it out for yourself. And if you're not a creative person, if you just sit there and like look at your quest journal and that's how you play these games, you have to be led around like, on a tight leash and the game tells you what to do, then EVE is not for you. But if you just want to have an open world where you can really do anything you want and interact with other players in ways you can't in most other games. I mean, you've reported on the stories about scams and blackmailing and spies and all these corporate battles that go on between the groups of players, and it's really incredible what they can do.
I know, there is that. I love the aspect of open and freedom, but my problem is I tend to kind of find the most ridiculous and absurd thing to do and then do it. And then do it until I get bored with it, and then I get bored with the game, and then I'm just done. That's my problem I always run into. I mean, I'll just start flying my ship around, ramming into other players, if it ever came to that. Which I don't know if you can actually do or not.
I think you just bump off them pretty harmlessly.
Well, I'd still be annoying though. I just go find the biggest corporate cruiser that I can find and just keep flying into them like a little bug on a windshield. I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start doing that from now on. See how far that gets me. But anyways, guys, that's unfortunately all the time we have for today's Friendly Fire. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I also want to thank all of our DJs and hosts in the on-air channel: Andy Hodges, Captain Maverick, Egoraptor, Soulrift, Tina, and myself, SexyJosh. I want to thank you all on behalf of them for tuning in, and stick tuned because we got more coming up on GameSHOUT Radio right after this.
This is GameSHOUT Radio, the #1.